Nut Siaya, Siam Ni Mushnatan Mustimuk, Entha Liz Hammond Karima, Tuni Kanach Protection Island, Tuni Kanach Sanemuk, Entha Mana Ut Dodi and Gary Hammond, Entha Icelandic, Scottish, Irish, Heichka Sanemuk, Tlation Squalwin Ut Sanemuk, Tumuk Atanaquail. Good day, respected friends and family. I am Liz HK. I live on Protection Island in Sanemuk Territory. I am the daughter of Gary and Dodie Hammond, who used to have a holiday place on the island. I am of Irish, Scottish, and Icelandic descent. I want to correct something I said last time when I did a land acknowledgement about the land being ceded. There was a question about, do you say ceded or unceded in Nanaimo, because there was a treaty signed in Nanaimo. Generally, where a treaty has been agreed to, the land is considered ceded. However, there's always been questions about the Douglas Treaty, agreements on Vancouver Island, 14 of them. Was the land exchanged? Was it seen as a lease and to be renewed annually? Or was it seen as shared land? So there's all those kind of questions. And we know that the treaty here in Sanemuk was breached not once, but many times. Because of all these issues, there is a reconciliation agreement that's being negotiated. So the elders do ask that we use the word unceded until that's all settled. So, on behalf of all of us, I want to thank the Sanemuk people whose traditional and unceded territory we have the privilege to be on and whose stories are embedded in the land. Stories are important. They tell our stories, they tell their stories, her stories, and his stories. Stories give meaning to places. During a land claim negotiation between the federal government and the Gitxagan First Nation, an elder asked government officials, if this is your land, where are your stories? So I thought I would take a little time to tell you some Sanemuk stories of the land we can see from here. So over there, out that window, is Te Tukhotan, and that's Mount Benson. In the beginning, the first male and female came from atop down to the estuary to live. They had no fresh water, and Halls, the creator, came to him and asked him what he did here without water. Halls took the bow and arrow and shot it at the mountain. At the first shot, the earth trembled. At the second, fire came out. And at the third, Te Tukhotan, Mount Benson, rose up, and the valley opened, and the Kwamkwamkwa River, the Nanaimo River, rushed down. In the beginning, there was Halls. Sorry, I can't pronounce that properly. You're supposed to pronounce it at the back of your throat. He was a transformer and changed people and things in many different places to rocks. All along the Nanaimo waterfront and down Newcastle Channel, Halls created special rocks. Cameron Island was once a village called Squeakwamee, which meant little dogs, so named for the woolly dogs they raised for its wool to make blankets. Near there, Halls made a giant stone dog, which has disappeared when Port Place Mall was created. In the estuary, over there, is a stone canoe on the beach that belonged to Fukhwum, a great hunter and fisher. He could spear a fish, flip it in the air, spear it through its mouth, and then cook it over a fire. He would take his catch and place them on a rock, and while dinner cooked, he would trace the fish to keep track of his catches. This is now known as Petroglyph Park. Halls was envious of his cooking skills and asked him how to cook, but Thukhotan wouldn't tell him, so Halls turned him and his canoe into stone, which is still along the shoreline. In the beginning, a shaman caught an unusual dog salmon in the Kwamkwamkwa River, Nanaimo River. When he showed it to his daughter, the salmon transformed into a young man and asked the daughter to marry him. The dog salmon man took the daughter away to the Salish Sea. The shaman went searching for his lost daughter, and when he found her, she told him she could not return with him, but would visit in the fall with her husband and his family. When they returned, it was the very first dog salmon run to spawn in the Nanaimo River. To welcome the return of spawning salmon, each year the first salmon are allowed to pass by because they are the daughter, son-in-law, and their family. After these sacred salmon pass, Those that follow provide food for the people. Along the shoreline, halfway down Jack's Point, you can see the petroglyph of salmon carved into a rock facing the water. And this marks the site of the first salmon ceremony, which takes place every year. The rock was taken in the 1960s and was on display outside the old museum up on the hill there until it was returned in 2008. And over there is Jack's Point. In the beginning, Halls, at the request of Raven, created that point of land so that the women from the nearby village would have a long way to walk and could say all they wanted to say during the journey. Raven is always nosy and tries to listen to what women say. That is why women are cautioned to whisper if they do not want Raven to hear what they say. And here we keep many of our stories. One book I'd like to recommend is Thomas King. Any of his books are really good. But he also did one good story, that one. He did a Massey lecture, and it's available on CBC, so as a podcast. So do a search for him and listen to that. It's very good. So I want to raise my hands to the traditional story keepers and to our story writers, and also our story keepers, the librarians and volunteers here at the library who work to keep our stories alive.
We're going to change the order a little bit today. We have some very distinguished guests with us. And Carol yesterday tested positive.
Recording in progress.
But she agreed to being set up on Zoom because 10 years ago, Carol was our first guest speaker. So I'm going to just quickly go through this. You probably know, but Carol is probably one of the most honored citizens in Nanaimo. In the 70s and 80s, she was with Family Life, and they began some amazing programs which continue to this day. So she laid the groundwork for this astonishing work. She was Dean of Human Services and Community Education at VIU between 1988 and 1999. She is now an honorary research associate. She's worked with countless nonprofit community groups as facilitator, director, and member of their boards and committees. Her honors include, in 1999, Excellence in Leadership Award from the National Community College Association, 2008, an honorary Doctorate of Letters degree from Vancouver Island University, 2012, the Order of BC, which is the province's highest honor in recognition of achievement and commitment in her local community, and in 2013, the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal. We know her as the person who lived on the islands and wrote wonderful books, of which I have here. I won't go through them all, but you all know that she's just a very special writer, and probably one of her greatest passions is Labyrinth, that she's just recently had released a book about bereavement. And her blog, which is really worth following, is caroljmatthews.wordpress.com. She continues to actively lobby for good government and a healthy community and offers workshops. So it's wonderful that you would feel you could be here on Zoom, Carol, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Am I on now?
Yes.
Okay, hear me. Doris, thank you so much. I have to say, I couldn't really hear a lot of that. I just heard my name several times and I thought, Dora is saying some very wonderful things about me that may not be true and may be greatly exaggerated. And so I will look to see later on what she has said, but sorry, it's partly my hearing and partly the setup that I didn't quite catch all of that. And so I cannot.
Thoroughly researched.
Oh, well, I cannot correct any possible mistakes that Thora has made. I just say thank you very much, Thora. And I have to just say, there's no words to say what a wonderful friend Thora is. I was saying, I have never had such a friend as Thora. She just is remarkable. And friend, neighbor, citizen, whatever you say about her, and just this day to day to be celebrating this place again is, as in so many occasions, a kind of testimony to the spirit she brings to everything. And so thank you, Thora, and thank you for the words that I will look to read later. And I can't do like Liz, but Haisa, Asian na siya, Hatska ka kwa sila tanakweo. I'm happy to be here, and I want to acknowledge my gratitude for being on this unceded territory of the Nanaimo people. And I am every day very grateful to live and enjoy and learn on this land. And it's such a pleasure and honor to be able to speak to you on this special day. But I so wish I was over there and not just a large spectral severed head on a screen while you're there actually in the beautiful real world. I do miss the island a lot. As most of you know, I had 22 years with Mike on the island, and they were wonderful years for us. And 3 more years where it was more lonely for me. And then anyway, for various reasons, I'm not on the island. But I tell you, if you're looking out as you're going on the ferry, probably once a week, I drive down and park the car on Newcastle by the, just by the funeral parlor there, and I take a cup of coffee and look out the island and think about this beautiful place and the people who are there and my happy years there. So should you see a little red car, you something. Anyway, and for over the last couple of years, I've escaped COVID by being super careful. And so it seems wrong that I should get it on this very day when I had special plans. But maybe a last minute COVID distraction is relevant to what all the volunteers have been facing and prevailing through over the last decade, especially the last 2.5 years. Planning, revising, planning, having to stop, having to redo, being committed to a vision and sticking to it throughout all the challenges and constant adaptation. And a special thank you to Peter for doing all the adaptation to make it possible for me to connect. Albeit in this strange format, although Peter and I were both saying that we felt COVID had saved us over the last 2 years. I think many of us, I do, and I think it unleashed terrific creativity that we would not have seen otherwise. And we really have to see not just the grief and fatigue, but also the wonderful birth of many new things. So some of you know that I'm always trying to find a special day to link important occasions to, and it's true that it's just not important that it's tune-up day, it's psychotherapy day, it's World Pharmacist Day today, all of that. But actually it's the first day that Balboa sighted the Pacific Ocean in 1513. So he was the first European to see this ocean on that day, many years ago. Although people who had lived here had been looking out at and living with it and taking care of it, actually, for taking good care for centuries from time immemorial. But it is a day of envisioning and achieving a vision. And there's a couple of literary references of some significance. It's William Faulkner's birthday. On this day in 1897, Mississippi, he was born to become one of the most important writers in Southern literature, and wrote The Sound and the Fury, and As I Lay Dying, and so on. And he had a Pulitzer Prize for fiction and the Nobel Prize and so on. He said what he needed to write was mainly paper, tobacco, food, and a little whiskey. But actually, more seriously, what he said was read, read, read. Read everything, trash, classics, good and bad, and see how they do it. Read, you'll absorb it, and then write. And if it's good, you'll find out. But read, read. That's good advice for us all. I particularly like what Bell Hooks said, and she was born on this day in 1952. Bell Hooks with a small b and a small h was a wonderful feminist social activist who wrote more than 30 books like Feminism is for Everyone, Passionate Politics, and so on. And she said things about writing that seemed to me to connect to this island, this community, and the achievement of this special library. She said, with words, we experience our deepest understandings of what it means to be intimate. We communicate to connect, to know community. And I think that's what this library is, a connection, a place to communicate, connect, and know community. And just think about, how people did this 10 years ago. What a wonderful envisioning the PIBL. Just the concept of a lending library without any funding to begin with the cooperation and general support of the Lions Club. And I just recently looked up the etymology of voluntarism, and it's connected with volare, flying, but volans and wishing, and sort of putting the couple of etymologies together. It can be seen to be a strong wish that makes things happen. And that's what this place is about, with a very strong initial wish that made things happen. So there was the concept, then the engagement and devotion of some hardworking volunteers, beginning with the acquisition of books, which is phenomenal. I mean, all the books, I believe, were donated by the community. There was no budget for any of that. So they just brought together all the books. And then the enormous amount of work to create a catalog. And anybody who has tried to catalog anything knows, when you think of all these books, how many books are there now, approximately?
Over 6,000.
Over 6,000. And that work is enormous to do that. And then to make it all available online so that people can know about story times, author reading, book sales, anniversaries. It's so important during the pandemic that news is available. And then book delivery. I heard stories about Kate's yellow bicycle. Are you there, Kate? That vision of Kate and her yellow bicycle circling around the island. It's a vision. There's so much more, and you know more about it than I, and I won't go on, but as with all things about protection, the library is the product of the hearts and minds and visions of many islanders, of a real community. I think, how do you have that kind of success? There's all kinds of recipes for success, but for me, it's like Protection Island, it begins with a P. It's the people, the place, and the persistence. And it's been astonishing persistence to keep all that going. What's happened over the last 10 years to get this, I wish I could see better this remarkable space you have there, but it looks beautiful. The impressive collection, the spirit of inclusion, and importantly, the sense of generativity. The library has always been welcoming to children and youth, the sense of generativity, the generations connecting, things emerging, and then each generation contributing to what the library can become. My granddaughter was telling me earlier that how much she loved the little library when she was staying on the island, the cozy feeling. This was in the very early days. She said the cozy feeling of it, and the puppets and the books, and just that you always felt welcome to be here. And I said maybe that was what prompted her to work at the Nanaimo Library part-time for 3 of her high school years. I mean, she just, as soon as she heard that there was a possibility, that was the job she wanted to have. It's just so important that there's that connection for children. As Margaret Atwood said, if there are no young readers and writers, there will shortly be no older ones. Literacy will be dead, and democracy, which many believe goes hand in hand with it, will be dead as well. Democracy is in a precarious state in our world right now. The space provided here for young people to read and perhaps to write will be one of the many things that may save us. It's that important. I'm also remembering what Ray Bradbury said many decades ago. What would we have without libraries? We'd have no past and no future. And again, this is a critical time. Here, we have an extraordinary past to celebrate, a wonderful future to look forward to, and a place where, to use Bell Hooks' words, people can communicate, connect, know community, and achieve really important things. So on that note, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. Special thanks to Peter again for making it possible for me to participate. Congratulations to everyone who made this wonderful place happen. And a happy anniversary. I look forward.
Carol, you probably can't hear me, but that was wonderful. And I'm so happy. 10 years from now, I'm sure you'll be back. That's your name, and you will. Special presentation?
Yes.
Carol, we have a little special virtual presentation.
My goodness, how can this be?
It'll be a surprise to us all. You want to come? Okay. And I think you can talk to Carol here. Okay? Yeah. Oh, no. Can you see them, Carol? Renee and Grant.
I think the feet's actually straight in front of this camera. This one.
Oh, wow. So thank you so much. My goodness.
Yeah.
There we go.
There they are.
Now I really see it.
Renee
There we
was the
go.
first child at a story time at the
Yeah.
library.
You're a storyteller. That's wonderful.
So this will be delivered.
Also, what? So you're doing storytelling at the library and on a regular basis now?
Absolutely.
Great. What was your story about?
Among some of our authors, certainly some of the volunteers. And we were very happy when Leonard called me this morning and said he could come and bring greetings from the city. Leonard, can you use the stage?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Quail. Good day. I too want to recognize we're gathered on the traditional territory of the Snuneymuxw First Nation. I just a little chat with Liz. I run that by the chief, and he says he's happy with me doing that. So I'm in the middle of a political controversy already. Oh, right, there's an election on. And I want to recognize the presence of the longest-serving city councillor in the city of Nanaimo, Ian Thorpe. Next to him, a well-known face because his posters are up all over the island. Who's running for city council. This is a wonderful occasion, and I can't help but be reminded when Carol talked about the necessity of reading anything, I'm reminded that when I grew up in Coos, we had the bookmobile, the Van Crown Regional Library, and that was a big deal. I can remember it came once a week, as I recall. My grandparents would both toddle up the road and get fresh books. And you understood as a child seeing this that it was a big deal and that reading was a big deal. And I think many of us are old enough to remember when the name of Andrew Carnegie, that ruthless American capitalist of Scottish descent, built libraries, public libraries all over North America. And those were, generally speaking, pretty architecturally renowned buildings, including the one in Victoria, which many people know. And Carnegie understood that, as most of the folks do here, and does Carol, and certainly Thora and Jerry, who provided the best little bookstore anywhere in the world as far as most of us are concerned, that reading really is where it is at. Reading is how, as Carol said, democracy is preserved. And I can't help but think when I saw the picture of the lovely little yellow bicycle and the thought of it delivering books around the island, takes me back to, as I say, those wonderful days of the arrival of the bookmobile. This is a great credit to the spirit of this community, and it is a community. I don't call it the island. The island's a geographic thing. This is a community. It's a great tribute to the community here that you've supported it. It has been such a success. And 6,000 volumes per capita, you're probably some of the most literate citizens in the island.
Absolutely.
So congratulations to all of you, and thank you for inviting Mayor and Council and others to come here today. It's always an honor and a privilege. And I must say, I knew I was important today because I actually had a city councillor drive me in a golf cart with the able guidance, like a coach and four with a footman in the back of it to get me there. So thank you for the hospitality as always.
Thank you, Leonard. And I just would like, we have several authors among us. Brian Harley, we all know, came over today. David Essex coming here. Oh, Valley. I didn't see you. Wonderful productions, multimedia productions.
Joanne, Leslie.
And Joanne. Because she listens to conversations. But anyway,
Jean Compton.
and Jean. She's done some beautiful picture book, and she's saved my life with actually several people have. Ian.
Laura, sorry to interrupt, and my apologies. I have an appointment to babysit grandchildren this afternoon, so I must leave you, but it's always good to be here. Yes. Thank you so much.
Excuse me.
There you go.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
So, I was asked if I can do some opening comments. You may hear a little, something that you've heard before, but I wanted to focus on people who have really worked with the library to make it. The welcoming space that is now the library that I hope you'll look at, look, 10 or 12 years, 11 or 12 years ago, you forget it. It was a mess. And I didn't do anything to become it, but I didn't take into account the Lions Club and Cape Muir. They had an idea about how it could evolve, and they worked tirelessly to make that happen. The library is a community labor of love. It houses this terrific collection of books and CDs donated by exceptional readers on the island. And I heard somebody a few minutes ago giving references to good books that they should be checking out. When Chris first joined, well, in the beginning, it was Kate, it was Kirsten Serenius, and myself before the library opened. And Kirsten was a wonderful supporter of the library and of wonderful books. And it was a hard thing when we lost it. Chris Firth joined us, and this is Chris right here. And I don't know if we have 6,000 books out, but Chris said, figure a way that she could catalog them. So in fact, we got an organized collection, which was pretty wonderful. We knew where you could go to get your cookbooks. Jillian Gill joined us. Jillian's back there with and she brought the skills to bring the cataloging online. And what a godsend that was in COVID, because people could order their books, and then Kate got out her little yellow tricycle, and she took them all over the island. Everybody got books everywhere. It was really pretty amazing. I doubt that any community in Canada had that kind of service. Jillian as well seems to be able to do a lot of different things. So she produced some brochures for us. We have a listing of all the authors who've been on the island who have published books. And then we have this wonderful directory that she prepared. Is that right?
No,
Where's your
not
directory?
that one, not that. Handbooks back there.
So I do take a look, because Jillian and Kate worked on that display, and it's really quite interesting to see. And the very long scrolling you see, which I know Kate will talk about more. The volunteers who made it work. All through the years, Kate has worked tirelessly within Lions Club to make the space downstairs work. We got really good lights now for us. You know.
Peter, that was Peter. Lighting, Peter.
But I found out at 5 o'clock yesterday that Carol could not come because she was ill. And so, speak with me. So what do? I dial up Peter. Peter has been here for 12 hours walking to Beacon because there's a lot of work going on here. So what did he do? He got on the Zoom with Carol, and they spent 2 hours making things hook up. Because he said for a while, all we could get was Carol's work. So we were really lucky. And that's just what happens on the island. We're very grateful to Peter. I'm sorry Jim McCurry is not here because
He was.
He's doing the chauffeuring, right? But he's produced a wonderful video of authors living on the island, and you have a chance, I think, to see that later today. But he's a proud poet when he does. So you, in a short period of time, you get the essence of what each author is about and wrote about. The library works because for 10 years we have committed dedicated volunteers who check out books to islanders, work the book sales, serve refreshments at events. And today we need to thank Jean Compton, Sandra Nisbet, Ann Millington, and Brenda Henderson, and in absentia, Louise Hamilton. I know you'll hear more about some of this. They worked hard on refreshments. It's wonderful to have you here to celebrate what this has become, and it could only have become what it is with this wonderful cooperation. I have one more thing. We have a poet on the island who writes haiku. Books, line by line, lives pass. Books, line by line, lives pass. Between the pages, small children squirm, waiting for the next character. Between the pages, small children squirm, waiting for the next character. And that's Cheryl Ashley. She's a pretty amazing pretty amazing poet. Anyway, thank you for coming, and Kate, you come next.
So Carol and Thor kind of stole. I'll try and make it short and sweet, folks.
Well, I know why I did that.
What, sorry?
Because you will never let anybody give you credit.
Well, no, of course not. That's what happens when you work in libraries for way too long. Anyway, I'm going to start. I'm going to do things out of order too. Good, great to see you, Carol. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me good? Okay, great. So I'm going to start with some regrets that we got, excluding one that we got. So, from author Margaret Horsfield, if anybody knows her, I do wish I could be there at your 10th anniversary celebration. I would have loved to raise a loud cheer and join the party. That's Margaret, wishing you the happiest of times and offering many congratulations on your achievements of the past decade, all good wishes and my regrets. Thank you, Margaret. From author Maria Coffey. I'm sure a lot of us know her. And just so you know, all those books that were mentioned are down Carol's and everybody's are down in the library, folks. From author Maria Coffey, unable to attend, but thank you so much for thinking of me. I wrote most of my books on Protection Island, and it is a place very dear to my heart. And wish we could be there. I'm sure it will be a wonderful success. And thank you for your dedication to the library and the island. Authors, Nancy and Bob Turner. So, appreciations. A lot have been already said, so I will make it short. Welcome. I'm so happy of all the attendees and the dignitaries and authors who came from on and off island. Peter Fruin has helped, besides today, in the library, answering all my questions. Thank you, Peter. and Rick Biller, too, who also does that, and the Lions Club. Big thanks to them. Library volunteers. There's this lovely scroll that Jean Compton made for us of past and present volunteers. Please have a look, and if I forgot your name and you were a volunteer, my apologies. I tried to remember everybody. Our current Sunday volunteers have already probably been mentioned. Okay, starting, there's Ann Manlington, Sandra Nesbitt, Jean Compton, Deb Brint, Jillian and Rudy Vigil, and Louise Hamilton and Ruth Iwasco. They both sent their regrets. They're away right now, so, and I get to be back up. Okay, so our 10th planning committee were Thora, Louise, Jean, Jillian, and myself, and it was quite an awesome group of 5. Okay. Oh, I also want to make comment about the summer story time that made my summer. Summer story time readers were Denise. Is she here today? No. Denise, Emily, Pippa, and myself, and the wonderful children that got to read, like Abigail, and I can't remember who else, maybe Renee, that read this summer. They used to come when they were babies, and now they're reading to us. It was wonderful. In case nobody knows, it was in Mud Bay, Pirates Park, in the shade of the big dairy oak, which was wonderful. And it was pure magic. That's my payback time. I get payback from that. It's a true joy. So we're doing it weekly in July and August. We don't know if we'll be doing it inside again. Kind of short on attendees, so we'll see how that goes. But it was an absolute joy because we also had grandchildren came, and it was every week it was different people. And there's another person to thank. Okay, so now the current, the former library committee, as mentioned, was Kirsten Serenius. We have a lovely plaque in honor of Kirsten and her Yeah, and Christine Firth, who we'll get to later. Thank you for coming, Christine. Thanks for bringing her here. Thora Howell, what can I say? Author readings, book launches, today's food, her amazing love and knowledge of books, and so much more, and just for being Thora. Thank you, Thora. Who created our, who came on in 2020? Was it just before COVID? I can't remember. She created our online catalog, which is fantastic. And she produced publications like the Beacon House Tales, the PI Handbook, they're back there, and the author brochure, which is fantastic. That's been one of my dreams for a while, and she did it, and all this computer work she does. It's just amazing. And I get to live off the, because I do story time with the kids, and you get to deliver in my mellow yellow trike. Those are my two dreams from when I was young. So now I'm living the dream in my old age. So who else did I not mention? Okay. Oh, and you helped to train library volunteers for Sundays too, didn't you, Jillian? That was fun when we reopened. That's another story. So I want to give special recognition. Is Laura here? Is she in the kitchen? Okay. She knows already. Special recognition to a very important person. Oh, what can I say? I know I'm going to lose it. I'm sorry, folks. I did try. Okay. This is Jerry Howell. He was our master storyteller, and he's the luckiest man in the world. What can I say about Jerry? He was at our first grand opening reading his Farmer Duck book, and I have 2 copies, board book and storybook, downstairs in honor of Jerry. And he read that downstairs in your chair. Sorry about that. I found out later you wanted it back. And anyway, we were going to have, when we got more space, which we didn't, we were going to have a corner with the big chair. But our chairs, the 2 brown chairs, the one with the lighthouse pillow, that I donated to Jerry in honor of Jerry. So if you ever sit there and read, Jerry's with you. Okay, so he read at the grand opening. He read at our first anniversary as a pirate, and I went up and told him he was captain, and I got the wrong captain. Was hooked. I think I said Morgan. I don't know. I got it wrong. He told me off. Just so you know. He also read at the winter solstice readings. We had such a wonderful time with those. Jerry read The Grinch. Oh my gosh, he captivated our hearts, young and mature. So, and the best thing was William, who was 3 years old. I just saw him the other day, and he didn't remember it. He said, I haven't heard that book before. So we have a Santa hat right there. And he went up and leaned his arm on Jerry's leg, and I just lost it. I just thought, oh, that was so magic. That was pure magic. He also read the Polar Bear Express with the bell and everything. We were so fortunate to have Jerry bless our island, bless our lives. And I asked him to spread that magic dust, whatever it is, fairy dust, on me so that I could follow in his footsteps. I can't, but I do try, and the kids make it worthwhile. So that's for Jerry. He'll be downstairs on our top shelf, along with Kirsten's class. They'll both be there. So nobody dressed up today, right? In your favorite book character. Who did? Who did? Sorry. Sadie did. Oh, Sadie did. Okay. We will not be having a group photo, but we will honor. Thank you for doing that. Anyway, and on to the next one. So Christine Firth, what can I say? She joined our library committee as our 4th member in about 2012, I think, right? Because we started it in 2011, all the planning. She single-handedly cataloged the collection, and she started with 300 books in our community's garden library. Remember that? Do you remember that? And it expanded to well over 2,000, and I think a lot of these workers as well. They're incredible down there. She also, I guess, their logo that she did for Recreation Library, or logo that's downstairs, it says 2012 on it, for 20, what? 2012, yeah, 10 years. She trained and scheduled the Sunday volunteers and staff many Sundays with Norm Cameron. And I'm sure anybody that got to enjoy that had fun. Anyway, that was amazing. So thank you, Norm, too. She retired from library committee in about 2020, I think, correct? Am I got it right? She thought she had enough. Sorry, we retired yourself, yes. So Christine helped to establish the foundation of the great library collection and most of the DVDs you see today. Christine, for your contribution to the Island Community Library and the Library Committee, we are deeply indebted. And we have a small token of our gratitude, which I thought was this, but we'll get you your gift. My understanding is this is your gift. Is that not correct? Is this first? Okay, it was handed to the wrong. It was handed to someone else and you want to be a there. Oh, okay. Here you go. Do not open here, please. Just so you know. You can open these two. That's just don't. We wanted to get what you wanted, not what I get. So let's hear it. I didn't know you changed, change brands. Okay, now so best part, I couldn't convince Shagundawa to dress up today because I didn't want to have a full in front of everybody at the time. Just think of this crazy bright blue hair, a big crinoline skirt, and a purple vest, and she has glasses that have stars on them. You can actually read them. And her magic wands. It's buried over there. I'm not going to dress up. Is that okay? It'll be what too hard. So this is mostly taken by Carol and Flora, but here it goes. This is the story of the little island that could, the house of books, fairy tale, and so much more. Once upon a time, on a wee isle in the Salish Sea, a common thought emerged. Let's build a community library. The islanders overwhelmingly agreed on their community survey. Remember that one? A lioness asked the Pride of Lions to make it so. And so began the journey to provide for shared book learning. Fundraising began in true island form. Bake sales, yard sale proceeds, bottle collecting, donations of all kinds, funding sources, and PI Lions funding and sponsorship in the year of literacy, 2012. And later, book sales at the PI Fall Fairs. There were meetings and presentations by the newly formed library committee of 3, then became 4. The demolition crew, I know Margaret can attest to that. It was so much fun. The demolition crew, the construction crew, many Lions were involved. The electrician guru, I'm not sure if there's 1 or 2. There were bookshelves and books and furniture found and donated. Books were cataloged and put on the shelves in their categories. There were many helping hands of volunteers and experts. And soon the time was near. The doors were opened with celebration and 8,000 all is well. And everybody knows what that is, right? The end of the shift on the boats, because they didn't have watches. 8,000 all is well means a shift. And that was when the Lions gave it to the library committee to run. There was an 8,000 all well ribbon cutting, a guest speaker, and 9 islanders. Oh, I forgot about the cake. A cake with the fairy tale. This is my fairy tale. There's a cake with a fairy tale on it as well about the library. 90 islanders. Wow. We set tiers up for 30 or something. 90 islanders. And tributes were plenty to all the volunteers and the 3 musketeers. Are any of those here today? If I see any of the 3 musketeers, I'll have to ask you who that is. I'm not telling. And for the next 8 years, Sunday openings, story time hours, winter solstice readings, author readings, book sales, book fest sponsorships, the Children's International Book Fest, Flora established. We sponsored children, and we miss that to this day, don't we? Let me see, what else was there? The PI Beacon of Scales we talked about, and the Community Literacy Outreach Committee in town, and I was on into representing Flora. I went there, and we were the new little kid on the block, sitting with university and multicultural and all these big and wonderful First Nations literacy programs. It was absolutely, it must have been about 20 of us. It was the most amazing. thing. We're in a director's organization. But it was incredible, and we were the young little kid on the block, but man, it was amazing to be there. Okay, okay, where did we get to? Then, okay, phew, that was 8 years, right? Then, COVID came to close the door. That was fun. Yeah, so to keep the library alive, it was an online catalog called Tiny Cat. Yeah, that's why I have a cat on my trike. You'll have to see that. Thanks for Denise, baby not. And a book delivery on Yellow Mellow began. The library pop-ups at our newly decorated bus stop. The summer story times in the park, treasure book bags, and a huge 2-day book sale. Then mid-May this year, the library reopened on Sundays, and Yellow Mellow still kept winning her way around here. There were more bookshelves, new lighting, thanks Peter, signage, storage space, new chairs, more books, and new categories. Now 10 years old. Feels like 20. There are well, at least 10 dedicated volunteers on the committee and the Sunday opening, and there's many more. Over 100 library members, and there will be more to come for whoever hasn't signed up, and over 6,000 items to borrow. The library remains a happy, welcoming place to visit and chat. And as everyone knows, it takes an island village community to build a library. And with their continued support and ideas, it will. And every good as the good fairy tale ends, and they all read happily ever after. Thank you. Everybody that's done the West Coast Run, and I know there is some of you that have done that. This is the grand finale.
You do West Coast Run?
Who knows how to do it?
Elaine?
Denise was supposed to be here to help, she isn't. Oh, you're here, you're here. Do you remember it? Well, it's okay, real prompt, right? Oh, Carol, can you see? Maybe kids, do you want to go over here so Carol can see you? And you're welcome. I like that. And don't forget now, everybody can join in. It's one great exercise. Denise would appreciate that. Two, if you're not laughing during or by the end of this, something's wrong. We all need more laughter. Remember?
How many verses are we doing?
Oh, all this. Just so you know, I should give you some background quickly. Okay, so Lisa Wilson came to story time with Little Louie and said, "Oh, I learned this," and we did the two verses, and it was absolutely incredible. So as I'm walking in Say section, I made up the rest of the verses because it's called the PI West Coast Rhyme. And I must say, we had a whole bunch of adults doing it the other day. Grandkids. Yeah, so we've got a lot of stuff we need to do. Okay, so I'm gonna start laughing. Sorry. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Okay, you ready? We've all forgotten it, but you'll catch on. And please join in. Stuart, you can do it sitting down. But we're good, right? You're ready?
We are.
I'm exhausted. Okay. You ready? Okay. You ready? Douglas fir, a tiny little mushroom in a Douglas fir, a Douglas fir, a Douglas fir, a tiny little mushroom in a Douglas fir, a sword fern, a tiny little mushroom in a Douglas fir, a sword fern, a tiny little mushroom in a Douglas fir, a Norco whale, little teeny skeleton, a Norco whale, a Norco whale, a Norco whale, little sea skeleton, a Norco whale, sea otter, come on folks, little York school for this, Norco whale, sea otter, little sea skeleton, a Norco whale, a raccoon, a little baby deer, and a raccoon, a little baby deer, and a raccoon, barred owl, a little baby deer, and a raccoon, barred owl, a little baby deer, and a raccoon. I'm thirsty. harbor seal, a harbor seal, a great blue heron and a harbor seal, a harbor seal, a harbor seal, a great blue heron and a harbor seal, a sea star, a sea star, a great blue heron and a harbor seal, a sea star, a sea star, a great blue heron and a harbor seal, high tide, a really low tide and a high tide, a high tide, a high tide, a really low tide and a high tide, the seashore, a really low tide and a high tide, the seashore, a really low tide and a high tide, our favorite the last one. It's the last one. I'm hearing voices and you're teaching it all to your grandkids, by the way. A grizzly bear, a little baby black bear and a grizzly bear, a grizzly bear, a grizzly bear, a little baby black bear and a grizzly bear, a spirit bear, little black bear and a grizzly bear, a spirit bear, a little baby black bear and a grizzly bear.
Great way to end the celebration, even in spite of all the hiccups, it all came together. Thank you so much, Carol, and Thora, and Kate, and all the other volunteers who made it happen. So now, you can all commune with one another, but we're going to be showing the PI authors video that was created for the Lions Speaker Series. But while that's showing, you can help yourselves to refreshments. Please look at all the displays. We have a suggestion board. It's also a pop-up book sale outside just by donation, or you can help yourself. And great, hope you have a good time and you continue to have a good time.
Or a memory, I'd love. We've got our book, so please feel, I'd love to see everybody sign.